Welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and I am excited. This is one of the characters that when I first started some time ago, I didn't know much about. I never developed him, and I think he's kind of a hidden gem, if you will. Now, if you've got him and you've maxed him out, you know he's not a hidden gem for you. You've got him, but a lot of people are not using him right now. I honestly haven't seen many videos on him. I haven't seen many people. There's nobody on my shard using him, so I got to him when I decided I was going to do the first order mod challenge. So I got to the mod challenge and I looked at who I had to use, and of course first order, and when you go to the end, the resistance and first order speed mods and offense mods are really the hardest ones, at least for me to get, because there's only 5 resistance and 5 first order, and really there's only 1 or 2 characters of first order and 1 or 2 characters of resistance worthy in the game of developing right away. And so you're stuck with 2 people, and to do these they require, the first level requires 3, the next one requires 4, the next one requires 5. So you literally have to develop all 5 characters. And you can see I've got first order stormtrooper barely. I haven't done anything with him other than unlock him. And then I just started on the first order officer and Kylo Ren. I'm working on getting them both up so they can survive. I highly doubt when I end up test driving my first order TIE pilot today that this first order officer will survive, but that's okay. I'm not worried about the other characters dying. I just want to show off my first order TIE pilot so you guys can see what he's about. And actually, if you go back to my characters, he makes the top 7 strongest, most powerful characters on my list, higher than Ayla and Qui-Gon and Geonosian Soldier and Lando. So that should tell you something right there. But if you go into him, he does, for the sake of this video, going to be a 7-star level 80 max gear 11 character. So that is exciting. His mods are done semi-efficiently. Obviously, I could put more mods on him that are better, but I have so many characters modded up right now, I'd have to start stealing from some of my other characters that I play with more. His base power that he starts when he's maxed out is right around 8,000. The mods, I was able to get almost another 1,000 power out of him. His base speed is about 128, so he starts out pretty fast for characters. Not nearly as fast as Rey, but pretty fast. And he's about 13,000 in original health, which makes him a bit of a glass cannon. I heard he was kind of like Rey, but when I started the game, Rey was the new First Order TIE pilot. So I went for Rey, and that's kind of who I focused on. But I think he's a hidden gem. I think a lot of people have not developed him and really should. Now that I have him, I'm overwhelmed by how much damage he is capable of laying down. It's pretty exciting, and I've had a few requests for this character to be reviewed, so I did want to make sure that I got him leveled up and his gear and stuff up. So the First Order TIE Pilot's a dark side character. He's First Order. He is a human, and he is an attacker. He is an amazing attacker at that, and he actually has his gun down ability, the special ability, which is the number 2 top ability for damage in the entire game, right behind Rey. Rey's special ability is number 1, he's number 2, so he is basically the First Order's version of Rey. He is a glass cannon of sorts, and so you'll see how I modded him to kind of fix both his speed and his glass cannon aspect. When I say glass cannon, I mean he hits for a lot, but he could be killed easily if you didn't know. So anyway, I did mention his gearing's at gear 11. He has 4 slots for future development. I geared him up. He's not that difficult to gear. He's just a tiny bit above, average. He has 4 raid gear parts total, and then he has 800 purples. Now, both 4 and 800 are a little over average, but at least it's not like 5 raid gear parts and 900 or 1,000 purple. It could always be worse, right? So 400, 800, it's just north of about average on both of those. So he is a bit of a grind to get up, but once you have him up, you will see in a minute he's definitely worth it. So let's go ahead and go through his attacks and abilities first, then we'll go through how I modded him. So his double tap deals physical damage to a target enemy with a 45% chance to attack again. So right out the gate, he's going to hit twice, about half the time on his basic, which is pretty awesome. But this chance, a 45 chance, is doubled. So it goes to 90%, which is essentially going to happen. That means if he has advantage. Now, he can give himself advantage as well as he can get advantage from someone like Captain Phasma, who happens to be the leader of the First Order. And she's a phenomenal character. Most people have gotten and unlocked Captain Phasma and developed her, so I'd recommend that for sure. But double tap essentially lets him shoot twice on his basic. His basic does a ridiculous amount of damage. And of course, he's going to hit twice on that basic quite a bit. This does go off a lot. For gun down, it deals physical damage to a target enemy, and it inflicts offense down for 2 turns on a critical hit. He crits a lot, and so he's laying down this offense down on the target quite a bit. So if you have a DPS or a damage per second character across the way that you're afraid of, that you don't want them to do a lot of damage to you, target them with this gun down. Again, I told you already, gun down is the number 2 top ability in the entire game for damage per second. It's absolutely amazing. Now it says if the First Order TIE Pilot has advantage, he also inflicts health down for 2 turns. So he's more than likely going to get advantage from his leader, and so he is going to, for the most part, inflict for 2 turns critical or offense down on a critical hit and health down. So that is pretty cool. Obviously, I would highly recommend Omegaing his gun down, because it's plus 15% damage, and his double tap, it's plus 15% damage. I am torn. I have about 6 characters that have at least 2 abilities each that I want to do, so I need about 60 of these Omega ability pieces, and I only have 5, so I'm going to hold off and just wait. As far as his unique ability, the unique ability is what makes him truly unique. It is maxed out. First Order TIE Pilot has plus 15% critical chance, so he self-boosts his crit chance and 20% critical damage. So he's already giving himself kind of like, it's like he modded himself, so to speak, and gave himself critical chance and critical damage. So the critical chance and critical damage mods are a little bit less important to him because he's already doing it to himself. But if you really want to make him hit hard, you can add the critical chance or critical damage to him, and that would just make him punch all the more harder. And he gains advantage for 3 turns the first time any enemy falls below 50% health. So he's going to get advantage for 3 turns. That essentially is going to last the entire duration of the encounter. So all you got to do is get 1 enemy to fall below 50% health, and then it triggers advantage, which gives him this ability, which allows him to put offense down and health down for 2 turns on a target. So that's pretty awesome. And of course, if he has advantage here, he's going to double tap, which is his basic. So he initially may or may not shoot twice, or may or may not inflict that offense down and health down. But as soon as one character on the other side takes damage to where they're at 50% or below, he's going to get that advantage, and all of a sudden he's going to be wrecking the other team hardcore. So those are his abilities. I would max them out if you have him. I would highly recommend him if you do not like the meta, if you don't like what everybody else is doing. I kind of like to go against the grain from time to time. That's why I went with an Admiral Akbar lead. He is not very popular in the meta at all. Some people still do use him, but I love him, so I use him a lot. But the First Order TIE Pilot is definitely not in the meta, hasn't been for some time. Now let's go ahead and go into the mods so you can see how I modded this guy. So the first one on the top left, of course, we all know is going to be offense as a primary stat. It did give him some potency and protection. Since he can potentially inflict offense down and health down, you want his potency to be boosted. And I'm not as concerned about him inflicting those negative status effects as I am about him smashing some skulls. So, you want to add the potency when you can with secondary stats, but really, and I did a potency set bonus, so I gave him plus 10% potency. And then, of course, I wanted him to smash, so I did 30% critical damage as a set bonus. So the next slot in the middle left is the processor. It's always going to be defense as a primary stat. And look at that secondary stat, 13 speed. Now, again, anytime you can make a tune fast, especially a DPS character like Rey or him, I would do it because they're going to take more turns than other characters. The bottom left data bus, I added protection. It was either going to be health or protection, and I decided to make him tankier, so I added protection. On the top right, I really want speed, a 30 speed, but I don't have a critical damage or a potency speed mod at all. So I went ahead and went with a protection mod just to make him tankier so that way he stays in the fight longer. Surprisingly, it makes him really hard to one-shot so he can stay in the fight and really mess up the other team. If you notice, these mods are for me a little subpar. I've got quite a few amazing ones to the left, but again, it's not the set that I want to do for him. So I'm going with a 4 dot and a 3 dot, a couple 4 dots and 3 dots. The middle one, I went ahead and added critical damage. Why not, right? When you're doing damage, just add more damage to damage. It did give him some more potency, so that was good, and some more offense. And then the bottom right's either going to be potency or tenacity for the most part for most characters. So I went ahead and added potency. It also has a secondary of speed, so that was good, and some critical chance, so that was good. So let's go ahead and go back and look at his overall stats so you can see where he's at. He is an agility character because he's an attacker, and that's where it affects his physical damage and critical rating, things like that. His strength and intelligence is average. His health is not really boosted at all, hardly. For me, the secondary stats are all that really did that. He's at almost 14,000 on health, which is just barely over where he starts at max level. But I got his protection up by almost 7,000, which makes him pretty dang tanky. He's around 36,000 in health and protection. So even Ray would have to do her, triple/quadruple hit and get a crit and make sure it all went out perfectly for her to single shot him. For Biggs, Dark Lighter, if he called in Wedge and someone else, he probably could die. Pretty much anyone will die with that combo. I did get his speed up a little bit, 17, so he's 145, and his critical damage is over 200, so that's pretty cool. His potency's at 45%. Really, I would want his potency around 60% and his speed around 180. So if I could have all the mods in the world that were perfect, I'd have his speed about 180 and his potency about 60. And then his critical damage at about 212. So that's where I would want to get him. And then the health and protection, if I could get him up to around 40,000, that would be pretty amazing as well. I would have to get his health boosted just a little bit higher. He doesn't have any health steal, which is kind of surprising. I figured for a character as such, especially a glass cannon like IG-88, you have health steal, and so why not the First Order TIE Pilot? I think they kind of missed the boat on this. They should have probably given him a 10% or a 15% health steal, but it is what it is. His physical damage, his base physical damage, his stat damage is huge. It's almost 2,600 to start, and then I added another almost 400 on physical damage. So he's at 2,900. That is really great. And his critical chance is 47%, but of course he boosts his own critical chance with Keen Eye. So if you go to Keen Eye, he does it another 15%. So his physical critical chance with that boost puts it almost around 60%, a little over 62%. And that's right where you want your crit chance. You want it to be over 60% for sure. It just seems to trigger much more effectively once you get over that 60%. Armor penetration is not bad, and for a non-tank, his armor rate is great at almost 24%, but with my mods, I got it to almost 30%, which is pretty cool. And then his special damage and his resistance. None of those are anything to write home about. So I do want to test drive him so you can see what the First Order TIE Pilot's all about. I have never really used him ever, except for when I did the mod challenge. I unlocked the first section easily with Captain Phasma leading and with him secondary, and then I had Kylo Ren there. Now, again, I want to unlock these offense mods, and I want to get the second and third tier done, but I have to develop my other characters. Again, 3 of these characters, the 3 that you're looking at right here in the middle, are really not going to last 5 rounds, more than likely. And so it's okay if I don't 3-star this today. I just, again, want to show off the First Order TIE Pilot. Yeah, we're going to have to do that. That stinks, but we'll do that. Should have thought of that before I made the video. Save a little bit of that energy. All right, and so I got to have 4 people that come in, so I'm going to do these 4 right here. You can't do any less, but bringing the other guy in is a liability. Bringing these other 2 in is a liability too, but you have to bring in at least 4 people. But at least you'll have 5 rounds to really see and for me to showcase how he plays out. And I don't really use this guy a whole lot, so I don't know much of his abilities. And let's just do his basic double tap. 10,000, and it was a critical. And he shot twice on that, and that's a tank on the other side, so, and that was a crit. And I'm just going to use basics to finish this other guy off. There was 10,000 again. Anytime you can get a character to consistently hit for 10 to 20,000 every time they shoot, and if they've got decent speed, that's a character worthy of developing and having on your squad for sure. And he shot twice, and he totally took that guy out. Let's go ahead and try this special. Almost 21,000 with no hesitation. So that was pretty awesome. And her assist. Again, you can see how the other two characters I have, the First Order Officer and Kylo Ren, are really a liability for sure. Because they are going to die, no doubt. Again, he's extremely consistent at hitting. There's another 9,000, another 9,000. So he just did 18,000. Let's go ahead and do his basic. 10,000 and 4,500. So 15,000, and the second shot wasn't even a critical. So you can see how effective he really is. And I've got him in a way that makes him pretty tanky as well. So you can see he's probably going to be the last one standing on this particular mod battle challenge, because I'm losing everybody else. He's about to go. Let's do his special. And over 20,000. Excellent. Took him out before he got a turn. Yeah, he's not going to last. 10,000, gets to shoot again, 10,000. That was 20,600 in that one double shot. And again, it goes off quite a bit, and he's a pretty consistent critical hitter. So this is 5 out of 5. I think I might be able to survive. I'm not going to, 3-star this at all, but I'm just looking to survive this. And that was not a critical, but it was still over 7,000, so that is excellent. And let's finish him off. Over 21,000. That looks excellent. So only one started, but I did complete it. You can see I only have 2 characters really worthy of going in here. Let's go ahead and see what I got. Nothing. Can't tell what the other secondary stats are, so no good. A protection. It may or may not come into play someday down the road. So that is all she wrote. I just wanted to show off the First Order TIE Pilot, let you see what he is all about. He is an amazing character who can smash and bash other people. Really wonderful character. I would highly develop him if I were you, if you have access to him. You know what? I almost forgot. Where do you farm him? I think I didn't show you where you farm him. So I had to farm him. The reason why it took me so long to get him is right here. Dark side, light side, level 6. You can get to level 6. Once you get your main account to around level 70, you should have your teams up high enough that you should be able to unlock him. So he's a mid to end game character. You've got to, really work on getting these hard side and the light side and dark side hard battles unlocked. But once you do, you can farm him, 6 times per day, 3 per node. So 6 times per day, you'll get, his drop rate for me was 30 to 50%. So you'll get anywhere from, 2 to 4 shards a day, and 2 to 4 shards a day is not really amazing at all, but he's definitely worth the grind. and on a rare occasion, he'll pop up in other areas of the game that you can pick up, 2 or 3 shards here or there. But he's definitely a hard farm. He's a hard grind, and maybe that's why a lot of people haven't developed him. But I would definitely recommend him. My Galaxy rating on the First Order TIE Pilot is, I believe, I actually do not have my Galaxy rating with me right now. I believe he is a Galaxy rating of 4, although he would be definitely borderline 5, and I'll have to go back and check my records to see whether he was a 5-star or a 4-star. He is absolutely worthy to be equal to a Rey any day, and he's a dark side character, which is fun. So if you have a chance to grind him out and get him, go and get him. What have you seen First Order TIE Pilot hit for the most? What's the highest hits you've seen? Are the 10,000 and 20,000 power hits I'm doing today the most you've ever seen him hit for, or have you seen a more powerful TIE Pilot out there? Why don't you leave comments down below? As always, check out my other videos. And as always, have an awesome afternoon. Keep your gaming on. Warrior out.